The concept of metaverses, digital realms, virtual real estate, and whatnot is quickly changing the world and filling it with everlasting excitement. But as it turns out, this whole metaverse thing isn't all that new. Just a fresh skin, a whole lot of newfound hype, and a bit more Mark Zuckerberg than previously. Today, we're delving into the story of the first metaverses. First up, the classic question from all those boomers sitting around the table at Thanksgiving. What in the hell is a metaverse? In layman's terms, the metaverse is supposedly the next stage of the internet, where everyone is immersively connected in virtual space, not opposed to the real world, but on top of it, in addition to it. Like the way that a website is sort of virtual real estate that you can access through any web browser, a plot of land in the metaverse is just a different take on a website. With a website, you can buy a domain, then build out a 2D storefront where you can sell your custom t-shirts. Well, in a metaverse, you can buy a virtual plot of land, you can build out a 3D storefront, and then sell your custom t-shirts. Right now, broadly, the metaverse is actually more of an umbrella term, being used to describe this whole conceptual trend that folks believe is unfolding. This evolution of immersive worlds or games into a new next-level form of the internet. Rather than connecting and utilizing the web through apps, websites, etc., as it is currently for the most part right now, it would mainly exist as a completely interconnected 3D virtual world that can be infinitely, permanently built upon. We could spend a whole video talking about what a metaverse is, what it isn't, and what it could be, but we'll leave it there, as that would be the gist of the theory behind the metaverse in 2022. But what in fact possibly maybe you don't know yet is what I'm about to drop on you. That is the origins of the metaverse. Folks, real quick, immerse yourself. The year is 1992. George H.W. Bush is the president. The internet is a wild, wild west, pretty brand shiny new in its early stages, and video games are far beyond the point of immersive 3D worlds. Well, eventually, June comes along, and when it does, a hot, spicy new sci-fi story hits the shelves and roars the world. That book? Snow Crash by Neal Stephenson. The significance of this tale? It just so happens to be the book that first coined the term metaverse, and in fact outlines the whole basic idea that would eventually come to fruition. But of course, Stephenson's outline of the 3D virtual space filled with simulated reality was a dystopian view into a cyber world, never meant to be reality. But 3 short years later, reality found its way. 1995. Now this is the year that things start getting fun. The infamous almighty .com bubble began its explosive ride at this point in time. Tech companies were hatching from the shadows of every nook and cranny that smelt VC potential. Innovation was everywhere. And eventually, amidst this, 2 passionate, young, and idealistic tech boys came out from their shadows. And they came out with quite the idea. Basically, their idea was Neal Stephenson's idea, but actualized. Please, I'd like you to meet Mr. Ethan Zuckerman and Mr. Daniel Beck. Woo! Woo! These 2 futurist boys were working at an up-and-coming tech spot called Tripod at the time. And this is where the magic began to happen. Ethan and Daniel actually outlined their ambitious world in 1994, but officially pitched this sucker in 1995, when they convinced their then CEO that this real-deal metaverse of theirs could effectively simulate life in the big city, virtually for folks planning for after college, which would bring all sorts of young thinkers of the world at this time onto their site as they desired and experienced the cyber reality of living in New York City. Specifically, this metaverse of theirs was considered to be an MOO, a MOO, an online virtual system in which multiple users are all connected at the same time. Well, the project began. Reality was upon them, full steam ahead. If you know anything about developing a virtual world, a game, a site, whatever, in today's day and age, well, forget all that completely, because this process is completely different. Ethan and Daniel had to take hundreds upon hundreds of film photographs, develop those, scan them, and proceed to insert them across their many, many web pages with early stage haphazard code. And again, this is a time when no one's really building HTML-based multi-person experiences on the web. So this right here is pure innovation, baby. The only problem was, it was kind of an issue. The project sucked. So that'll do it. As stated by Ethan himself, the Moo was garbage. On a good day, I could give a demo that made it look smooth, slick, and fun to use, but our CEO couldn't, and that was a problem. So, just like that, with the snap of a finger, Tripod shut the project down. The Moo Metaverse of 1995 was no more. And so, time went on, as it does. Across those next few years, there were a few temporary projects that had ideas dabbling within the realms of metaverse things, but nothing substantial. Until 1998. 3 years into the path of the dot-com bubble, a computer scientist man by the name of Wei Dai reveals a bold new internet model. Something never before explored and rather difficult to grasp. A system called B-Money. This next-level, anonymous, distributed electronic cash system, reminiscent of what would one day become the concept behind modern cryptocurrency. So much so that Dai described this proof-of-work protocol as a means of creating money in this system. Satoshi Nakamoto eventually went on to reference Dai's proposal specifically along the process of creating Bitcoin. But that's a story for another day, folks. The point here is that this concept of internet funny money was officially proposed. And, well, that's it. No functionality, no development, but an idea that was oh so ahead of its time. And relevant in the real deal, start to finish first instance of what we would consider to be a successful metaverse. A digital realm that entered into existence a mere 5 years later. 2003, June 23rd, the start of summer. The tech bubble has popped, and economically, we're past the worst of the crash. But of course, innovation continued amidst this time. And on this very day, a new project opened itself up to the world. That project went by the name of Second Life. Technically, there were a series of closed, then public betas leading up to this official launch, but for simplicity, Linden Lab officially released Second Life on June 23rd, 2003. Anyway, you might just be wondering, Chris, what in the hell is Second Life? A metaverse? What? Linden Lab's very own Second Life is, in fact, an online multimedia platform focused on allowing real-world people to create digital avatars within this virtual world and proceed to build out their second life within this ever-so-expansive digital realm. Okay, so what is it? It's a game? Ha! No, that's ridiculous. Since the beginning, Second Life has always avoided calling itself a game. They often referred to it as a 3D online virtual world. This was an online, immersive realm where folks from across the world create an account, enter in, and do whatever it is they want to do within there. Live life, buy stuff, sell stuff, gamble, listen to music, build properties, watch movies, have sex, life stuff. I mean, is this starting to sound a bit more familiar now? When I say buy stuff, sell stuff, build out property, I mean with real money. This virtual world had a virtual marketplace with items that cost real deal, real world cash. Again, sound familiar? And you ready for this? At the time, when Second Life came into existence and word began to spread about this virtual world, this metaverse, whatever you want to call it, there grew an energy around it. A hubbub of people talking about how insane, amazing, freaky, innovative, etc., that all this was. Is this the future? Are we in it? And, well, no folks, we were only in 2003. This is before the iPhone was even announced. This is before YouTube. This is before the Obamas. This is a lifetime ago. Yet, history was creating a very similar pattern to that of the one around us today. And you ready for this one? One of the major assets you could buy within the Second Life verse were these islands that you could then build out whatever you wanted to build out. And well, as the innovative hype grew, companies, big companies, began buying these islands for marketing, innovation, headlines, or whatever else. Again, sound familiar? This was the virtual world. and folks wanted to get in early. But unfortunately, sometimes being an early adopter doesn't mean success and riches. Sometimes, in fact, it means nothing. So then, the million-dollar question. What happened to Second Life? Did it crash and burn? Did it fall and fail? Well, if you can imagine this, no. No, it did not crash and burn, or fall and fail. It just slowly, gradually existed in its own little bubble. The period of news stories, hype, and pure disbelief slowly disappeared. The fallacy that this would create the new digital reality with this innovative virtual economy faded as Second Life found its loyal, core audience. And the tech hunters, the investors, the brands, etc., they found their way onto the next things. Maybe it was the App Store, or the evolution of Web 2, or a path of exploration to eventually fulfill the ever-repeating circle. And now they're right back to where they started, in the midst of this virtual realm, the metaverse, like before, but better. Here, finally, for the world to embrace the change they once believed would evolve everything and everyone. Maybe this is the point in history where it does. Maybe Second Life was Ask Jeeves so that Decentraland could become Google. Maybe Second Life was books.com so that The Sandbox could become Amazon. Maybe. Alls I know is that history is a fun, juicy pattern of repeating rhythms. Personally, I'm bullish on the modern metaverses. I follow it all closely and I'm excited for the future. But it's always a good time looking back at the origins, at the immersive tale that got us here, to this point, to right now. And that there is all I got for you on this one. I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive on the first metaverses, the ones that came before. And if you want more spicy delves into the world of money, check out the rest of my money lore videos. Either way, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you real soon. Be safe out there.